Good morning, Flosstube. It is Friday, the 10th of December 2021. Welcome to my Flosstube episode 16. I'm delighted to be here this morning and looking festive, trying to balance the weight of the pom-pom on this side of my head, counteracting. Anyway, I'm delighted to be here this morning and to share some finishes with you, a little bit of whip parade and some plans for cross stitching in 2022. I hope that you'll bear with me. You might need a drink, a snack, a sleeping bag, who knows, but hopefully we'll be able to get through this, show you some inspiring stitching and have a little bit of a laugh as we go along today. Thank you so much for joining me, especially if you are a new or returning viewer. So if you're new, welcome for the first time to my channel, and I hope that you won't be put off by the length of today's episode, although some of the others are fairly lengthy too. When I start to talk stitching, I forget to stop. Anyway, I hope you will enjoy what you see, that you will want to come back for more, and that you will hit the subscribe button. For those of you who have done all that before and are back for more, well, it's your own fault. You know what you're in for. You know that I can keep talking for a very long time all about my stitching. So thank you to everyone who is watching today and who will watch over the next few weeks as we all settle down into the festive season and perhaps have a little bit more time to catch up on our regular Flosstube viewing. I know that my Flosstube viewing has certainly been sporadic the last couple of weeks, because I'm finding myself much more busy out and about, picking up Christmas presents, seeing people, having little bits of gatherings and that. So it's all good fun, but it will be nice to sit down again and concentrate on my Flosstube friends and a little bit more stitching. Anyway, since last time, as I said, it's just been really busy with the general December chaos that ensues. We have decorated for Christmas, as you can see. This year I've got a little tree in our dining area, and I have this tree was a small tree that we bought when Charlotte was really tiny, and we knew that there was just no way our big tree could go up and survive. So we had this one, but this year I have purloined it and brought it in here as a festive backdrop, and it looks very pretty also while we're at the table. So Charlotte was very excited to be putting up the Christmas tree. She knew that it was going to be happening on Saturday morning, and bless her, when she got up on Saturday morning she looked out the window and said, "Mommy, where is the snow?" I think she thinks Christmas comes as a package, like it looks on a Christmas card, so there should be snow and reindeers and snowmen. And she was a little bit disappointed to find it was just mizzly and grey and wet and not very pleasant, a dark December day. However, it was soon overtaken by the excitement of Christmas tree decorations and all kinds of fun things in boxes that she could tear apart, and we were chasing around the house one morning whilst trying to get them onto the tree. So this last couple of weeks we've also been the recipient of some happy mail. So we, being Charlotte and I, received a very cute thank you card from Nancy at the Bougie Stitchers. She was very generous and sent us a little thank you card for singing happy birthday to her, and some stickers for Charlotte and I to play with. So they're really cute, Nancy. Thank you very much. Charlotte loves them, and we will probably spend some time over the Christmas holidays playing with them and doing some craft with them in order to keep her busy while she's not at school. The other happy mail that I received was a very generous donation of a gift card to 123 Stitch. I haven't asked permission from the person who sent that to use their name, so I won't, but please know that I am so grateful and overwhelmed, because really you don't need to be sending me thanks for giveaways that I send you if you have been the winner, but I really do treasure that kindness, and thank you for that. So big kisses, thank you very much. I've also recorded a Flosstube extra video in the last couple of weeks, and that is a tutorial on how to mount your embroidery or your cross stitch in a hoop. So it's how to mount and finish it. So if you are interested in that, it is Flosstube Extra number 5. Please go and have a watch. It has been well received and I think has been quite timely because a number of you have said that you have ornaments and gifts and decorations awaiting to be mounted in a hoop, and now hopefully the instructions on the tutorial will help you to be able to do that and have some nice finishes on time for Christmas. In the last week or so, I've also had a little bit of a bee in my bonnet about getting things finished. There's been so many bits of stitching. The stitching is finished, but the actual item isn't fully finished. And they've just been collecting on my sewing desk over to the side. And I just feel, I think with the end of the year approaching, that I wanted to get things fully finished and so that I can use them. And you know that I mentioned in my last video that there were a number of finishing items like pillow forms and things missing in transit. Not missing, but just delayed in getting to me. So they finally arrived and I got a bit of a spark under me last weekend and started to finish up lots of the stitching that was collecting. So I have plenty of finishes to be showing you today and will happily do that in a few minutes. First of all, I wanted to show you some previous finishes, and today I'm going to do that in the guise of a little Christmas tour or Christmas stitching tour of the house. That sounds rather grand, and let me just tell you now that I am no Priscilla and Chelsea, so I neither have Priscilla's skill in home decor nor Chelsea's videography talent. So what you're going to see is a few Christmas lights, a few pretty decorations, and a lot of wobbly camera. So I apologise in advance for anyone who starts to feel a little bit of the motion sickness as a result. But the way that I wanted to show you some of my previous stitchy finishes is through this little Christmas tour, and I'm going to insert that here and now. I just want to add a couple of caveats to that, and as well as the fact that I'm no Priscilla and Chelsea, I just wanted to say, please don't look at my home and think, wow, that's clean and tidy. Please bear in mind that this little insert was shot while Charlotte was at school, just after I had cleaned my house, and that there is a whole pile of proc pushed to the side just to make my videos look Flosstube worthy. Evidence inserted here. So no comparisons, folks. Don't think I have it all together, because I really don't. But anyway, I hope you'll enjoy seeing some of my previous stitchy finishes for Christmas. So I thought a good place to start the tour would be with the first decoration that goes up every year, and that is our advent calendar. You can see that this Quilty Angel is one of those panel kits that you buy and stitch together. And this is it's a nice kind of easy sew, although it was greatly helped by being at a class to get some inside information on how to stitch nice neat pockets and such. I really enjoyed this, and the kids really enjoy it. Even the big one still enjoys getting his chocolate treats from here. So he'll be home next week. So from next week I'll have to be putting 2 chocolates in each of the pockets. And then over this way to my kitchen window, I just wanted to show you 2 little bits. One is this EPP decoration. I'm sorry the lighting is poor this morning, but you can see that I fussy cut a centre square. Sorry, trying to get without a wobble. So I have fussy cut a centre square and used kind of elongated hexagons, so like lozenge shape hexagons around the sides. And the same on the reverse, sorry. Same on the reverse, just to create a little decoration. Some blanket stitch edging and a little bit of ribbon. So that's just an example of an easy way for you to create something cute to hang on your tree or on a window And while we're here, I'll just show you this little piece of lace. I'm trying my best to get a good view of him for you. This is a little lace Santa ornament that we purchased when we were on our honeymoon many moons ago, almost 25 years ago, in Bruges. So this was probably on that holiday, that honeymoon, the only piece of lace we could actually afford, having just got married. But it's very special. And we all have those sentimental pieces that are very special to us. And then down in my dining area, this year I've got a new little tree in the corner, which is very nice. But down on the dining table, I wanted to show you this quilted table runner. I'll try and stop wobbling. So this quilted table runner was my gift from the Modern Irish Quilt Guild Christmas table runner swap. Probably about 2015, 2016, something like that. Maybe even a little earlier. And my partner just did a great job choosing fun Christmas themed fabrics in colours that I love. So that was a very fun swap. And every year it takes pride of place on our table centre. Oh, and I spot in the background just another piece of stitchy prettiness that I want to share with you. And that is this tablecloth. It's an embroidered tablecloth. And it's got covered in flock snow, as you can see, it keeps falling off the tree. And this tablecloth, it's probably machine embroidered. In fact, it is machine embroidered, but it's another honeymoon purchase. And it's nice. The remote control wasn't there, it would be even better. There we go. Another special one because it was purchased on our honeymoon. That's it for the kitchen area. Let's go and see what's in the hallway. Here in the hallway I have probably one of my one and only pieces of full coverage. This is actually an advent calendar, as you can see by the numbers around the edge, and I was supposed to stitch something. I have a feeling it was a little tiny candy cane that then looped around those sequins that are on each of the boxes, but I never did that. But anyway, the centre panel, well, the whole thing is from a kit, and I have a feeling it was a Busilla kit, and this was probably stitched back in 95, something like that. So it's Santa. He comes out every year and he hangs wonkily because my hanging tabs are not level, I don't think. He hangs wonkily on this door in our hallway. The camera does not want to focus well, folks, so I'm sorry if it's pretty blurred for you. But anyway, he's cute and up he goes every year. And then down here I have a quilty Christmas countdown, and as you can see, Miss Charlotte and I have been adding the days to Christmas, and today as I record it's 16, and you probably won't be watching this until tomorrow when it should be 15, so don't be thinking you've got an extra day, folks. This was a pattern from a magazine called Quilt Now, and it was a lovely modern quilting magazine here in the UK, and there were some fabulous projects in it, and I have the pleasure of knowing the designer of this project. Her name is Hadley Gordon, and she was blogged under the name of Flying Blind on a Rocket Cycle, and Hadley designed this wonderful, very simple but effective little countdown to Christmas quilt wall hanging, and Charlotte and I get to enjoy it every year now. Here on this wall, which is right, let's just see if I can give you some perspective, is right by my living room door and before the stairwell. So here I have a little mini quilted wall hanging, which is a design by Sarah Edgar of Pretty Fabrics and Trims. I've talked about Sarah and her mum Penny before, and they run the business Pretty Fabrics and Trims. This was a kit that Sarah had put together, but the instructions are all on her blog, the Pretty Fabrics and Trim blog, and I will try to link that below so that you can have a look, and if you had your own fabrics, I'm sure you'd be able to pull that together. But it's very cute, it's very small, and it was a lot of fun to stitch. And then on the living room door I have the season's greeting banner. This is one of the charts that I gave away recently on a share, and I said I would show you whenever mine comes on and goes up, and it goes on the living room door every day. It's pretty heavy coverage, so it's almost kind of full coverage in itself, but it was a great kit to stitch. It's very festive. So over at the Christmas tree I have some quilted Santa sacks which are under the tree. I'll show you those. There's probably not actually very much quilting on them, and I'll explain that when we're over there. And you can see that to the side of the Christmas tree there are some knitted figures, Santa, Mrs. Claus, Postbox, and a Merry Christmas clown. And down on the tree there's some knitted decorations, some sewn decorations, and some cross-stitch ones, so I'll take you over there to see. Here's some evidence of knitting. All of this knitting would have been done in the mid-90s, probably 96, 97. And the majority of the patterns, if not all of them, were from Jean Greenhouse knitting pattern books. But you can see I've got wreaths and Christmas trees. There's a lantern over here. And a stocking somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. And there's an elf hiding down here. He's swinging on the beads. Let's see if we can get a better view of him. There we go. So that is most of the knitting that's on the tree, and a bell. And I loved knitting these. I don't knit very much anymore, but I really did enjoy knitting all of those for my tree. I guess I was preparing like a bottom drawer at the time because I was engaged, and thinking ahead and also filling my hours with stitchy goodness. Another of the patterns that I shared recently had these 4 little decorations on them, and I'm not sure how clearly the camera will focus on them, but I will try to show you. First of all, there's the snowman, and then we have the cracker. No, it's very poor focusing, sorry folks. And then down here is Santa with his sack, which just about fits in the frame. And then lastly there's the Christmas tree with the gifts under it. You can see that these are, well, they're probably 26, 27 years old now, and they're in their plastic bell-shaped frames and star-shaped frames which date them. And the Ada is yellowing slightly, but you know, they're all part of the history of my family life and we enjoy them. The tree also has some very poorly made little stockings. I really didn't know how to achieve a good finish on them, but oops, let's see, they're tucked in, and there's several of those, so don't, you know, just because it's not perfect doesn't mean it doesn't hang on my tree. That's my mum's white rocking horse, which is special to me just because she was the queen of Christmas, and now this one belongs to me. And then down here I'll show you my knitting my knitting pieces. I clearly had too much time on my hands at one point. Obviously life before children. And the detailing in these is incredible. Just for the patterns were phenomenal. And I really enjoyed stitching them, and they have actually lasted really well. And they're still looking pretty white and not too shabby for being in the loft most of all of these years. So those are my knitted ornaments. Down under the tree I was going to show you some Christmas sacks that I made. Now these are made from Debbie Mum patterns. Sorry, here we go, Debbie Mum patterns, and you can see that they are appliqued and they're not even stitched down. They are literally just bond-webbed on there. Isn't that awful? And when Andrew was little, when he was just born actually, I stitched together this Christmas stocking for him. I hadn't a clue how to do it or what to do. The insides and the finishing are terrible. And as you can see, we're back to that applique, which you simply stuck down. You did not stitch it. That was not in the rules of the book. It was not in the instructions of the book to stitch it down. I think you were actually supposed to put pen marks to make it look like it was stitched down. But I didn't have the right kind of pen back then, so I didn't do it, and I've just left it ever since. But anyway, I was very proud of myself for stitching the stocking together and getting those shapes. And it's no mean feat to use metallic embroidery thread to achieve that zigzag stitching, especially when you don't know what you're doing. Over here on the fireplace, you'll find Charlotte's stocking and Charlotte's Santa sack. Hers are the Scandi red and whites at each end of my fire guard. But clearly Charlotte's Santa sack and her Christmas stocking were made at a time after I'd been to classes, after I learned a few techniques and taught myself some others. So she has a Christmas stocking that has a porthole technique with a cut out Christmas tree shape, and she's a beautifully finished cuff and hanger at the top. The three stockings in the middle were made at one of Just Jude's classes again. Well, I made one at her class and then I made two at home, and that was in the days before Charlotte's. That's why there are only three of that style. One for me, one for Alan and one for Andrew. And then Charlotte's Christmas sack has a little gingerbread man appliqued on it. And I remember she was really tiny and our days were eaten up by, well, we had 4 days a week at clinics and appointments, and we sat in those appointments and clinics for most of the day, 4 days a week. And the rest of the time it was just a medication routine at home and it was all sorts of busy. But I was determined that she would have her own Santa sack and her Santa stocking that year, no matter how tight and tough things were. So that's why they were pretty quick makes. But I also love that Scandi fabric. And above those on my fire guard, I have little fabric embroidered stars and hearts. So truth be told, the stockings are not supposed to hang there, but every time I take them off and I just hang my hearts, and I have another little heart with jingle bells that hangs in the center, every time I take them off and just hang the hearts and the stars, Charlotte comes back and hangs up the stockings, because stockings hang by the chimney. So she is quite right, even if it didn't fit with my design aesthetic. So I've given up taking them off and I'm just letting her hang them on the fire guard regardless. On top top of the mantle I have some bunting, and on the bunting I stitched some crocheted letters to spell Emmanuel, as you can see. Up above, just draping across our picture of the morns, I have tiny bunting with some cross-stitched lettering on. And I'm sorry, I've tried to get close enough to get a good view of it for you, but it is red Ada that I have frayed on the edges and stitched down onto the gingham bunting pieces. There's another piece of tiny bunting on top of this unit, and it has got some yo-yos with red buttons on them, or Suffolk puffs as we call them. Again, I can't get close enough to get a good focus view. I really don't know what's up with the camera, but I'm no videographer, so just take my word for it. And you can see hanging on the door is a little banner that says Noel. Back to the fireplace mantle, my newest addition, Christmas Wishes, alongside my gifted Tomte. And then I have the Noel Sal, which was last year's Sal from Christelle at Un Chat dans la Rue. I think it's still available if you're on her Facebook, on the Un Chat dans la Rue Facebook page. You might need to go to the Sal page, but the files are still there for the PDF of this, and I have shown it before because I know it's not going to focus well. And then, oh, there's my nativity. And my funny little story about my nativity is that I went on holiday with my mum in the early years of our marriage, and hubby was away with work for 6 months, and mum said she was going to visit her sister in Florida, and I said, oh, that'd be great, I'll come too. So off we went to Florida, and we had a lovely time, and my aunt took us to this beautiful Amish coffee shop, gift shop, and I don't know if there was something else there that you could visit, but we didn't. But we had a lunch there, and then we visited their gift shop, and they had all sorts of wonderful handmade things that I really couldn't afford. Quilts galore, although I wasn't into quilting at that time. Wish I could go back now and see them. But anyway, up in the corner I spotted this advent, and I thought, oh, I love it, look, it's beautifully carved, it's so nice. And I asked them about it and asked the price, and it was reasonable, and I thought, oh, I could get that home. And so we were in a hurry, so without too much closer inspection, I just got the lady to package it up for me, and I paid, and away we went. When I got home, I was opening it up to have another look, and I was so pleased with my beautiful hand-carved Amish nativity, and I opened it up and looked at the bottom, and there's a sticker that says made in China. So I still love it anyway, but I was duped or naive, one of the two, but either way, that's my nativity. And so since it is the central story of Christmas, it sits right in the center of my mantelpiece. And then my last new addition is Oh Tidings of Comfort and Joy. So that, my friends, is the stitchy view of our Christmas decorations. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry for the wobbling. I'm sorry for the out of focus, but I hope it gives you an idea. Whoops, I almost forgot to show you the cushions in situ. I'll show you these closer up when I show my finishes in a few moments, but that is the And To All a Good Night by the Stitching with the Housewives, and all the trimmings. This is the pattern by the Fat Quarter Shop. You can see on the other side of the cushion there's a gap, and that is going to be ready for the Silent Night pattern by the Stitching with the Housewives, and that will be a project for next year, I hope. You can see on the back of the sofa we have a Christmas quilt, and I can't remember what I've called this. I will try to link below. I'm pretty sure I've got some directions for this measurements on my blog if you want to make this quilt. Basically, when it came to making up this quilt, I just realised I had a surplus of Christmassy fabrics and I wanted to keep them all nice and chunky, and so that's exactly what I did. And then over here there's a tiny charm pack quilt and a sack, a Christmas sack, which is full of Charlotte's December books and spinny lighting sensory toys that she gets to enjoy. So that really is everything stitchy. Oh, and a heart cushion that's definitely not Christmassy, but still. So that is everything Christmassy and stitchy for me to share with you. Hello everyone!
Wish you Merry Christmas, we wish you Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hi everyone! As you can see, Santa's helper was here singing to you. Singing. What happened? Did you get stuck in the chimney like Santa Claus?
Yes! This is the hat. Found it. Oh, it's my hat go.
Where'd your hat go?
Oh, I took on my head.
On your head? What about some reindeer antlers? Would
Toy.
you like to show everybody?
I don't want my either.
You don't want them, okay. Do you like to show everybody these?
Okay.
Charlotte would like to show you all her Christmas toys. Keep them nice and still. Who's this?
F.
The elf. Yes. And who else have you got?
Rudolph.
Rudolph. And what has he got? What has Rudolph got?
No.
What has he got?
Nose.
What kind of a nose?
Red.
Rudolph the red-nosed.
Reindeer.
That's one of your favourite songs, isn't it? And who else is? Who's this?
Santa.
You show everybody. Turn them around so everybody can see. Good girl. Excellent. Keep them nice and still. It's Santa. And we have one more. There you go. Homework.
Sorry.
Who is it?
Snowman.
It's Frosty the Snowman. Keep him nice and still so everybody can see him nicely.
No.
No, don't be cheeky.
Oh.
There we go. Bye, Frosty.
Bye, Frosty.
We thought we'd get a little bit festive today and show you the festive finishes
And the
that I have.
Bethlehem.
The Bethlehem?
Yes.
So first of all, we're going to show you this pillow cushion. And this is... Okay, be nice and quiet. This finish is all the trimmings, which is a pattern by Fat Quarter Shop. They did a sew along in November, I think, or maybe October. And I finished it up and made it into this small little cushion. It's only about 11 inches by 12.5 inches, so it's quite tiny, but I think it's a nice finish. And the fabric that finishes it.
I can cotton it.
Okay, gently, please. The fabric that finishes it is Bonnie and Camille's vintage from their Vintage Holidays line. So will we show the next cushion, the big one? Put your tongue in, silly belly. What are you doing?
Peekaboo.
Peekaboo.
Woof woof.
Are you being a doggy? This is a really big one. Can you help, Charlotte? Can you help? Let's hold it up. You can't? Okay, Mummy will do it by herself. This one is the cushion finish for And to All a Good Night. This is the stitching with the Housewives pattern. And I showed you the finished stitch last time, but I have finished it into pillow. Sorry, it's being blown out a bit. It's a very pale aqua. I'll hold it back so you can see. I wasn't going to use this fabric. I actually thought I would use the floral one, this floral one, so that the kind of Christmas festive didn't compete with the pattern. But in the end, I just went all out festive, and I love it. So I finished it. And the fabric on the back is another one from the Vintage Holidays line. It's little Christmas trees. And these cushions were finished with an invisible zipper on the bottom.
Stop.
Well, you can see that my little festive helper disappeared. She was losing it, really. And she's really massively overstimulated. by all of the festive activities that are happening at home and school and everywhere else. So yeah, she's just untamable this week. So I think, you know, we got a "We wish you a Merry Christmas" from her, and that's about as much as we can expect. So I will just finish these last two Christmas finishes by myself without her assistance. So firstly, I have my finish of Christmas Wishes, which is the Little Doves designs. I showed you the stitch finish last week, and I now have it finished and mounted on this board. It's fabric mounted. There's some lace trim just to break up the fabric, really, because I'm not sure that I've quite got the scale of this right. I think in an ideal world the stitching would have been a little bit wider on the board, but I wanted to give it a go anyway, and I'm actually really happy with the finish, but I did have to make some adjustments as I went along. One of them being the addition of these lace trims, as I said, just to break up the fabric and not let the eye dwell on the fact that the stitching is very skinny on the board. At the bottom there's a little, lace bow and a gingerbread man button. When I asked Charlotte what the button was just after I'd finished this, she said, "Oh, it's a gingerbread man angel, mummy." So I see what she means. And then at the very top we have a little circle of lace with a jingle bell in it, and from that I just hung these bells, which here in the UK I found in the craft section at the Works. And up under the apex I have a smaller lace trim up there. That's really to hide an error. What happened was that this board, I should have explained, sorry, that this board comes from the range here in the UK. And there were a couple of different designs. I chose this one because it had like wooden planking effect on it. And there is some writing in the center of the board, but you can see that I've managed to cover it. I'll show you a picture of the original board so that if you are interested in popping to the range to see if you can find one for yourself, you'll know what to look for. There are a couple of different designs, but this is the one that I got. And it is about £3.49 or £3.99. It's very, very inexpensive. And I think that it does a great job for this. However, when I unpacked it from its plastic cellophane wrapping, as I was taking it off, I noticed that my hands were black, and I worked out that the black was coming from just under the wooden apex here, and so I took a cloth to it. But as I rubbed, because the black kept coming, and as I rubbed, I actually rubbed off some of this paper design that is on the board. So it's really just a paper design that has been added to the board. So I created a big rub on it there, and I was a bit devastated, to say the least, because it really was very obvious. But I have decided that I'll put up a little bit of lace. Perhaps it looks like snowy, frosty icicles. I don't know. But I think it does the job, and no one will ever know except that I've told you all. So that is my finish of Christmas Wishes by Little Doves Designs. And the last of my Christmas fully finished pieces is "Oh Tidings of Comfort and Joy" by Modern Folk Embroidery. And this one I just simply mounted in a 5x7" frame. The frame is from IKEA. It's not very expensive, it's just plastic, but it looks nice and is pretty suitable, I think, for something that's just on display for a couple of weeks in the year. So that's all of the Christmas finishes, and now I have some just regular finishes. So first of all, I have finished this Mandala Embroidery. Now this piece I don't think I've shown you before. I was rooting around in some boxes, and I have come across a few bits and pieces that were finished prior to me ever having a Flosstube, but never fully finished. So when Danielle asked if I would do a tutorial on how to mount something in a hoop, this piece was ideal for that, given that I didn't have any cross stitch pieces at the time. So I was able to finish this piece and demonstrate the finishing process. This pattern is from a book by Carina Envoldsen called Mandalas to Embroider, I think. I will insert a picture here for you to see. It's a lovely book, and it has some iron-on transfers in the back so that you can iron the patterns directly onto your fabric for stitching. So I really love a little bit of paisley and stitched this one up. It was actually planned for the time when we were going to be moving house, but then we didn't, and blah blah blah. But it's still pretty, and now it's in a hoop and I will be able to hang it over in the stitchy corner. So that is my first fully finished to show you of the non-festive variety. Another piece that I found that was a long time finish, and this one is a very long time finish, was this. Oh, it's getting quite the shine from the ring light. Let's see, there we go. So it was this little initials piece. Now this piece of damask, I'm sure some of you will remember this type of damask that had Ada centered in the circles and sometimes on the borders as well, but mine didn't. So this piece was stitched probably in 1995 or 1996, and I say that because I know stitched. It was stitched back then. I know that because I got engaged in 1995 to the lovely Alan, and I'm Sarah, obviously. And I stitched this soon after as a commemoration of our engagement. Now, at that time, I had this piece of damask flat in a tray with a mount around it and a piece of glass over the tray. And this was, my idea was that this would be in our home and it would be out and on display, but it never really did, not much after the first year, because as we decorated and did things differently, there really wasn't the space. We had a very tiny living room in that, and there really wasn't the space to have a big tray on display. So sadly, it spent a lot of its life in the china cabinet, waiting to be brought out on special occasions. So when we were having a clear out last year, I came across it. I repurposed the tray, which just needed to be, could be used much more in general use. And I took the stitching off. When I say I took it off, it was masking taped to a piece of light card underneath the mat in the tray. So it wasn't exactly professionally framed or anything else. However, it survived all this time. Anyway, this is becoming a very long story of telling you that I had the piece separated from its tray and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, and so recently decided that it would make a nice throw pillow for our bedroom. I'll insert a picture. And now I'm going to let you in on the secret that hubby doesn't yet know. It's going to be a throw pillow for the bedroom, and he'll be delighted. He doesn't see the point in throw pillows, it must be said. Anyway, I have added some borders of Tilda. This is Tilda Woodland, and the colours matched perfectly. And those are just DMC threads from long ago. And the backing is also Tilda, two different types. And I think they're both from the Woodland. I know that this print certainly is. I'm pretty sure this one is too. And this is the it's called the single skin pillow cover or something, but it's a fantastic pillow backing tutorial by my friend Just Jude, and you put in this little pillow in the center and have this flap to disguise it, It's also just a really nice way of using a contrasting band of fabric to make the back of your pillows look sweet. So I will link that tutorial below if any of you are interested in how that is done for a pillow backing. Anyway, that was a long story, sorry. That was my second finish. And then the insert finally came that I was able to rejig and finish my Be Happy cushion. I am so excited about this and can't wait to put it on the chair in the lounge where it goes. It'll be on my stitchy chair, and woe betide anyone who actually sits on it. In my house, they have a habit of sitting on the cushion, not just keeping it behind you or moving it to the side, but actually on it so that the cushion ends up with a whole slouchy thing happening. At their own peril, I add. Anyway, for this one, I added some bright fabric. I think this might be called Milkwood, but I can't remember. Again, the same zipper finish in the backing, and you can see that I added some pom-poms. They're not perfect in how they've been attached, but they're on there. They're not going to go anywhere, and it's a, you know, that is a skill in progress, as it were, adding pom-pom trim. But I'm so thrilled with this piece, and I'm thrilled that it's finally finished and will be on display as soon as the Christmas decor disappears. Then I had a little run of small cushion finishes. We tend to call pillows that you would refer to pillows in the US. A lot of the US floss tubers talk about making pillows. We tend to have pillows are what you lie on bed. So that's what you put your head on at night to go to sleep. Here in the UK, we tend to refer to anything else pretty much as a cushion. Somebody will probably correct me, but that's how I always have. So if I use cushion and pillow interchangeably, it's because my own vocabulary is becoming corrupted. But my own vocabulary is adapting to the use of the word pillow for small items. This one is the Hope Celebration Small by Liz Matthews. It is a freebie if you are, I think you might be able to find it on her site, but if you are one of her newsletter subscribers, Liz sends little freebies out now and again, so if you're subscribed, you can be one of the first to get it. So this is the Hope Celebration Small, and that is just another piece of the Tilda Woodland on the back. And it's just very simple pillow finish. There's no extra embellishment on that one, but I'm delighted. I'm delighted that it's not a flat piece of stitching that I can't use. So I will, apologies if there was a funny edit there. I had a phone call and I had to take it. So anyway, the next little cushion pillow finish is the Valentine Bakery Stitch by Stitching with the Housewives. This is, it might be one of their tiered tried tidbits, or might have preceded that. But anyway, it's one of their cute patterns for Valentines. And I just made this into a taller cushion. I gave it a little bit of height by adding some fabric to the bottom, a little bit of red crochet trim because I simply had a tiny offcut in my box, and finished it again just as a straightforward, simple pillow finish. And the height will hopefully mean that you know, it can go to the back of a tray if I ever have enough to put on a tray, and just, you know, add some height variation. So that's that one. And then another piece of stitching that I found was from a Sashiko workshop that I did on a retreat weekend back in 2015 in Edinburgh, which was fantastic. But this was a little Sashiko workshop that we did in the afternoon for about an hour and a half. And I stitched this piece, and again, it has just been in the bag and not used. So I decided that I would make it into a little pin cushion, and I just gathered some scraps, Bonnie and Camille's day sale fabrics, and made that into a little pin cushion. So that will be in use very soon over in the sewing corner, the nook. The next piece I love, it is a freebie from Modern Folk Embroidery called Mother's Day. So have a look on Jacob's site and see if you can see that one. I stitched it with a DMC variegated thread, finished it into a little pillow with this beautiful piece of tilde on the back. And just when I was finishing, I thought I wanted something else on it but wasn't sure what, so I just added a little blanket stitch all the way around, just a few stitches in from where the join is and from the front. I think that just adds a nice little finishing touch. So again, thrilled with that one. It will be up in the house very soon, just as a little in honor of my mum. And then this one I'm very excited about is Tudor B. And it's fully finished. It's quite a big cushion. Nice piece of low volume fabric on the back. I think that's an Amy Sinibaldi fabric. And you'll see that I added beads. Now, I have some beads in my stash and some beading needles, and I have no idea why they're there, and they've been there for years. I obviously had some grand plan at some point in time, but I can't remember ever actually doing very much with them, if anything at all. So when I stitched this one up into this little pillow, I knew I wanted to add something around the edges, and I thought these beads were the perfect colour, kind of like honey gold beads, perfect for the bee. I'm going to be really honest with you and tell you that I hated every minute of adding those beads on. It's not that they were hard, I just struggling with the spacing, and yeah, so I didn't enjoy it, but I'm going to tell you it was worth it. I think it was worth it. I'm really, really thrilled with the end result. Take my fingers out of the way. So that is Tudor B, the Blue Flower. And I'm thrilled to have that one finished too. So I love having finishes, it's great. The last fully finished piece that I have this week is La Finestra del Tempo from Marsal, hashtag Finestra del Tempo. And this obviously is April, and it's finished for the little easel. I love the lavender and lilac colours that Marilla chose for this design. And look at that fish under the umbrella. I mean, he's trying to stay dry. I love the little details in these charts. They're fabulous. So that's another cute finish. And I'll just insert a picture up here for you to show you all 4 of the months that I have finished so far, because they look very cute all together. Now let's move on to finishes. So they're not fully finished, but the stitching is finished. And the first massive piece is Celebrate Spring by Madame Chantilly. This, as you know, was my daily thread piece. So I was taking one length of thread every day that I stitch, and it's the first thread that I put in to a piece of work on the days that I stitch. I was finishing this little sort of chalkboard sign down here. Man, that took forever. I thought it was never going to fill in, but eventually I could see the end was in sight, and I just kept stitching one day. So I did start with my one thread, and I thought, oh, I'm nearly there, and I just kept going to finish it. I love the detail in this chart. Sorry. Love the shepherdess and her little sheep, and the hyacinth in the jar. Love those little birdies, pink and blue and yellow, and the little birdhouse. And I stitched everything in the called for DMC, but I did change the word spring to one of the pink shades. It was originally the white, but I like the pink. This was a phenomenal amount of stitching. I had no idea when I started this chart that it was going to be so huge. So that is Celebrate Spring. And the next finish is one I'm really chuffed with. And I like it so much more than I thought I would, which sounds bad, but you know, I just didn't realize I would love it this much. And this is Black Sampler 2021 by, if I can hold it straight, by Christina at Whilst Iris Naps. I used DMC variegated thread for this. It's just one thread, 0053, and it varies through silver greys into charcoals and up into very deep charcoal. Never quite reaches black, but it's beautiful. I love it. It was a perfect design for Black Sampler November, which I had, as I said before, no intention of joining, but Christina won my heart over with this design, and I was not disappointed to start it, and now it's finished. So I have to have a little bit of a think about how I want to fully finish it. I'm not sure if I'll put a frame on it or whether I'll mount it on fabric in some other way, but I'm absolutely thrilled. So Christina, thank you for a fabulous, fabulous pattern, and I hope more of you will maybe stitch that. That is it for my finishes, which I think is pretty good going. So you can see that I was determined. I was determined that there will be things I will not be carrying over into 2022. Things I want to be finished because I want to use them. I love them. I stitched them with the intention of using them somewhere in my home or gifting or wherever. And I wanted to get on with that and make that happen. So yeah, so I rode the wave of enthusiasm that I had last weekend and just powered through and got all those things finished up. So if you're still with me, which I really hope that you still are, you might need to top up your coffee because I'm going to go on now and talk about the rest of the whips, because I've had a little bit of progress on some more whips, and then that will lead me into a discussion of my plans. So I'm going to do the whips I've worked on, then I'm going to show you the rest of my whips, so it'll be a mini whip grid because there aren't that many. And then we'll take a look at my stitchy plans for 2022. So in the last couple of weeks, I worked again on the Heartstring samplery band sampler called My Necessity, and it's all about coffee. This is the one I'm stitching for my hubby for our 25th wedding anniversary, which will be next November. So I'm taking this one nice and slow, kind of one band at a time. And this last couple of weeks, I just added that bottom band that you can see there, that lovely flower band. I'm stitching this with 3371. I love how that's coming together. I then did a little bit of work on Hello Pumpkin, which I'd really wanted to finish in the autumn, but I didn't get there. I really would like to finish it by the end of the year, but I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. You know how it is. You have great plans for December and then everything just gets really busy, as it already is. But if I can, I will keep plugging along with this in the hope of having a finish and taking it off my whip board. This is Hello Pumpkin. I finished the fox's head, I think was not complete last time. Added the little bluebird and then filled in lots of these little foliage pieces all around. I still love the colours in this. They are autumnal, but not just browns and yellows. Adore this caterpillar cross stitch pattern. So it's nice to make progress. There's an apple up here and some acorns and a hedgehog and things that need to be worked on and filled in. And this is quite nice because it's a 32 count, I think. Yeah, it's a 32 count, which I'm stitching 2 over 2, so it's nice and easy to see as well when it comes to stitching. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that I'll at least get more good progress towards a finish, if not a finish, by the end of December. Another one I would like to finish in December and have been working on is Clara Hansen. So that's this pattern by Hello from Liz Matthews. And I made a little bit of progress on the swan border. I would have made more if I didn't make so many mistakes and have to unpick, but hey ho, there we go. So she just needs the swan border. You can see the swan border needs to be finished And then there's a lovely leaf border and a final bottom border. So it doesn't sound like too much. So I'm hoping that maybe, again, either a finish or good progress towards a finish. And next is my progress on Crochet A Go-Go's La Finestra del Tempo. And this month we are stitching May. If you're joining us on the stitch along, May is officially what we're stitching. You can stitch any month you like, really, but May is where we have reached so far. And there we go. Cute roses, and I'll start down here. This is going to be a little bird. I'll show you the pattern. There's a fox, look. He's very cute. So I have made a start, and again would hope that that will be finished by the end of the month to keep me on track with my own stitch along. There's nothing more embarrassing really than, well, you know what, it's not even embarrassing, it's just how we roll. Anyway, these are the next lot of patterns for La Finestra del Tempo. And I'm showing you those as a transition into the plans that I have. So far I've worked on a May, that is current WIP, but my plans into 2022, obviously, to continue with these. And as the stitch along was designed, it started in August and it will finish in July 2022, all being well. And that will hopefully mean that December chart, this pretty December chart, will be stitched in July, and I plan to do that as part of Jolly July, just to round things off and tidy them up. So that is the first of the stitch alongs that I am carrying into 2022. Hi folks, it's future me coming back to visit you. I had a little hiccup with my recordings, and the second part of my WIP parade has disappeared completely. I know that it transferred from the iPad to the computer, but I can't find it anywhere. So not so festive version of Sarah is here just to catch you up on the tail end of that WIP parade. These are the WIPs that I still have that are still on my WIP list, but I haven't been working on them recently. So let's get on with it. The first one is Gather Here. So Gather Here with Grateful Hearts. This is a Hello from Liz Matthews pattern that I started with great gusto way back, probably in the summer, but unfortunately I only got this far and no further. So obviously I would like to pick that up to continue that in 2022. I have plans to put it on the wall just adjacent to the Christmas tree there. And yeah, I really would like to get that one finished. So that is another continuing WIP, as is Jacob from Modern Folk Embroidery's beautiful 2020 style pattern, a family patchwork sampler. It's glorious. And again, this is another one I loved stitching. It didn't get left aside because I wasn't enjoying it or anything. I just got distracted by many other things. And I got this far, which I think is all of January and probably half of February. So you can see that I've got quite a bit of catching up to do. I didn't start this in 2020, I only started it later on in 2021, but I still have a lot of stitching to do, and it's such a beautiful piece and I always enjoy working on it. So I'm looking forward to being able to find some time to pick that one back up again this next year. Then I have a smaller start, which looks like this, not much more. I think the border continues a little bit, but not an awful lot. And this is the start of Country Cottage Needleworks Love Lives Here. I think I purchased this around Valentine's last year. I didn't start it for a few months, but made a start and then didn't actually get any further. I think I started it with WIP Go actually, but I didn't manage to get time to pick it up. Again, just distracted by other fun things, but that's okay. I've got this one to go back to. And then I have this pattern, which I should just explain that the title Square Tile Motif Cross Stitch is my title for this. The pattern comes from 2x2 stitch art on Etsy, and basically this cover page I've created from the cover page of the pattern, just by adding in this detail here as a reference for myself and adding a title. On this particular Etsy site, all of the patterns I think are just given numbers, and there are quite a few with square tiles. So if you like this one, interested in this one, I will link, there will be a link for this particular one down below. Sorry. So yes, so the title is just mine so that I know how to refer to it on any of my lists. I made a start, I didn't get terribly far. Surprise, surprise. I got 3 of the little squares done, and it is 7x7 altogether, so there's only another 46 to go. But that will be one I can come back to in 2022. And it should be a reasonably easy stitch. I think that's a 16 count Ada. But all of these projects that I have to come back to are all beautiful, so there shouldn't be any reason that I wouldn't come back to them, except about a million distractions. I then have the very small start that I made on Christmas Gingerbread Village. If you recall from a video or two back, that Nikki Newell had invited me to start this with her, and I think both of us had great intentions but haven't yet got very far. But that's okay, we have made starts, and mine is pretty small, and it's a center start on this occasion, and it's the doorway of the house in the middle of the pattern. So it's really pretty. I would like to maybe be able to pick that up perhaps Christmas week when I'm still feeling festive and get a few more stitches into that before. I probably will leave it then until after the spring before I pick it up again, but you never know. So those are the main whips, and there's just one more whip left. So that is my whip of shame. Jenny, if you're watching, you are not the only one to have a whip from the days of your much older son's childhood. So this is a dimensions kit for the Oh Holy Night Advent calendar. And according to the receipt that I found in the bag, I purchased this in November 2006. And I do remember giving it good gusto at the time, and I think I got maybe about 10 of the little folks stitched. These are stitched on a plastic canvas, and they become the little hanging ornaments that hang in the spaces for the days. It's a pretty big stitch, this, actually, aside from the little ornaments. This chart is actually a pretty big one. Now, as I said, this was started with Andrew in mind, and he is now 20. I can't imagine him really wanting this chart, but I do, of course, now have Charlotte, and I think that she would enjoy it, so I have held on to it. I would like to pick it up in 2022 and work at least a little bit and often, so little and often through the year. If it's not finished by the end of next year, that's okay, but I just would like to see sort of consistent progress, as it were. It's too pretty to leave in a project bag, and it either needs to be moved on by me or moved on to someone else. So given that Charlotte is here, and I think she will be enjoying Christmas for many years to come, I'd like to finish that for her. I think she would enjoy that. So there you go, there you have it. That is my whips. I'm sorry that I had to come back and intersperse with this little retrospective update on the end of my whip parade, but we will now return to normal programming. I made good progress in 2021. I finished so much more than I ever expected to. I was inspired and encouraged by all of you on Flosstube, and it's been a really great year. It's been a new experience for me, and I have enjoyed every minute. I never ever expected to be here videoing and sharing with you every couple of weeks, but that's been great too. And as part of my new direction, as it were, or my my new addiction, perhaps, in 2021, I started the WhipGo board. Now, I didn't start until February because I didn't know about it in January. I didn't know it existed. And I made good progress by using WhipGo through the earlier months of the year. So here's my WhipGo board as it's finishing for the year. You can see there are 4 projects that I didn't quite get to. And in all honesty, I just made a decision in November that there were other projects that I was at a different pace with, and I wanted to pursue those to finish them. And so I didn't want to, I was happy really to leave the WhipGo goals and let them slide in order to achieve finishes in other areas. So I'm not disappointed at all that I didn't progress those. And I am thrilled that WhipGo was a great motivator for the other projects that did get finished. As I have explained on a previous video, 2 or 3 videos back, I think that next year I'm not going to do WhipGo, but I am going to use a kind of board system, and that is called Sweet 16. That's just because I decided to call it that, because 16 projects seems to be about my sweet spot for whips. Any more and I get a little bit flustered and feel overwhelmed and a bit panicked, frankly. I'm not an 80 or 90 whips person yet. Well, not yet anyway. And yeah, 16 was the number for me. So if I have less, that's great. If I have the full 16, then that gives me plenty of variety to choose from when I sit down at the beginning of a month and try to make a stitchy plan, which is what I do. So I sit with my whip list at the beginning of a month, well, actually probably the end of the month, and decide what it is I want to stitch on or focus on next month. It's not hard and fast. I just like a little bit of structure. I'm that kind of person. So it's, you know, it's not a problem if the rules change. 16 whips also gives me a little bit of leeway in terms of if I did increase numbers accidentally, or, you know, if you get sucked into the latest sale or whatever it is, then I don't have an extravagant, well, I don't think it's extravagant number. Certainly not extravagant by Flosstube standards anyway. So going into 2022, I've already said that I would like to finish Clara Hansen and Hello Pumpkin, and that would mean that this Sweet 16 list would be 2 less than it currently shows. And that would be nice because look at all those lovely blank spaces. And what does a blank space mean? It means a new start. So that's really exciting, and I want to share with you now, if you can bear with me, some of the projects that I have plans for in 2022. So here it is, a great big bag of 22 plans. And inside are all the pretties, that I would like to be part of my stitching in the next year. These are projects that I have. I've had the charts. I've already started kitting them up. A lot of them are fully kitted, and some of them are almost fully kitted. So they're pretty much ready to go. If they're not fully kitted, it's because I haven't chosen the fabric, but I do have, oops, bit of a crash. I do have fabric in my stash that will work. I just need to make the decision. So let me show you what's here. First is very exciting because with this first plan, you can join us. And I say us because the lovely, bubbly, happy and wonderful, wonderful Joanita at Stitchy Things here on Flosstube, YouTube. And I are going to stitch this together. We have agreed a start along for the 1st of January for the Blue Flowers, the Gentle Rain start, and we want to invite you to come and stitch along with us. So we will have a hashtag, and I will let you know what that is. I'll pop that onto Instagram, and I will let you know also on my next video what we decide the hashtag is, so that you can join us on Instagram and share your progress with us. Forward to it. I have everything gathered together. I have all the flosses here. And you can see some are new from stash and some are bobbinated. And I think I'm just using all the called for, and I need to choose a piece of fabric from my stash at home. So please come and join Joanita and myself, and as we stitch this gorgeous chart. Don't worry if you can't start on the 1st of January with us, just start when you can. So if the pattern is lurking in your stash somewhere, you know, have a little hunt, see what threads you can pull together, and come and join us when you're ready. Next up is a stitch along that I'm going to do in 2022. I don't have a picture for that. If I can find one on their website, I'll insert it here. But this is the Heartfelt Sal, and this is a Fat Quarter Shop stitch along. It's their charity stitch along for 2022, and I have already donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation that they want to support with this, and I'm waiting for the chart releases. So these are the threads that will be used. I've gathered them. You can see my note where I make notes about where the threads that are here, but some of them are not here. Some of them are in with other projects. That's how I manage to know where everything is. Anyway, those are the threads, and I'm looking forward to a stitch along. I do love a good stitch along, and I'm always enticed by Fat Quarter Shop's plans. So that will be coming up, I believe, in February, and they will be releasing, I think it's monthly. I think it's the first Friday of every month. They're going to release a part of that pattern. So if you're interested, you can hop over to the Jolly Jabber blog and find out more. Another plan for next year is my unicorn that I was so kindly gifted copies of, and by my lovely viewers. And I can't wait to stitch this because obviously it's been my unicorn, so I've been dying to get at it. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day. So it's a la-di-da chart, and I have pulled some threads. Some of the others are in other projects, and I need to just pull a piece of fabric from my stash for that one. And then I have plans to start my first ever Blackbird. You'll recall perhaps that I purchased the What Remains pattern from Traditional Stitches. I'm hoping you can see without too much glare. That's not too bad. This is What Remains is Love. Well, the chart is called What Remains, but on it it says What Remains is Love. And I want to stitch this in honor of my mum. And this is a tricky time of year, just without her. It's tricky without her all the time, but this time is particularly poignant without going into all of that. She was a Christmas queen, and she loved it, and she loved to be with us, and unfortunately it was also around this time of the year that she fell very ill and ultimately passed away. So I think maybe on her anniversary, I will start this. And I wasn't trying to put a dampener on things, and in fact, my reasons for wanting to stitch this are cheery, and it's because, you know, she is gone now, but there is a lot of her that remains, and that is the love that she had for us as her children, as her grandchildren, as the, you know, people who were part of her life, and love is her legacy. So I'm sure many of you can resonate with that, with someone in your life. So that is what is made, that's really what touched my heart about this chart. And also it is a blackbird as I've never stitched before. So I'm going to give that one a go in 2022 as well. As I said, I might start it on her anniversary, which will be the 4th of January. I haven't fully decided that yet, but we'll see. And then I have got 2 of Jacob's patterns that I really want to stitch, and I've wanted to stitch them for so long. The first is Real Comfort, so that's the Jane Austen quote. And the next is I Am No Bird, which I received this week as a birthday present. So Hubby did really well. So these 2, I see them as a pair, and would like very much to have those stitched sometime this year as well. And then this is a very messy bag. But this, oh, sorry, while we're here, just as I'm pulling the tag, I realized someone asked about the tags on my bags. They're just the simple little key tags that you get for workplaces actually, and they would hang in a little key cabinet. So that's all they are. They're from Amazon. I got a bag. I think there are maybe, yeah, there's 10 pieces in a bag. So I had ordered, 4 bags of these or something. So that's all they are. They're not very fancy, but they do the job nicely. And you can take the ring off and then slide out the paper and rewrite the name of your project that's in your bag. This one, as you can see, if you've been able to read that, is Flea Market Flowers. I really wanted to stitch this this year, but I didn't get to it. I considered starting it, but I knew to look at it that it was a huge stitch, and I decided to just leave it because I had enough big stitches on the go at that point, and I decided to leave it and carry it over into 2022. So that is one I would really like to stitch this in the early part of the year, I think, maybe for the spring. So I adore it. I think it's just so beautiful, and all of the versions I've seen of it stitched make me want to stitch it more and more. So that is definitely on the 2022 plans. Another little spring stitch is Easter Blooms by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. And I have got some pretty thread colours picked for that, and a piece of some kind of cream Ada by the looks of it. I'll give you details another day. And this is the design. Just a little happy Easter in an oval egg shape. And that is from Caterpillar Cross Stitch if you're interested. But it's bright and it's cheery and it's spring-like, so I'm hoping that, again, I don't know, I've got these grand plans. Do you think I can do this? I'm not talking about finishes, all finishes in 2022. We're just talking about plenty of stitching. Does that get better? Next is a pattern that I showed you, I think, on my last regular video, and that is Kindness Matters by Frog Cottage Designs. Love it, love the sentiment, want to have it in my home. There's not much more to be said. So, yeah, at some stage this year. And then I've got a couple of kits that I want to work on. You may recall, if you've watched some of my other videos, that I had been gifted some kits by mybobbin.com and had bought some myself prior to that. I have a kit from Isle Forest Embroidery, and anyway, I've got a number of kits, and I thought it's time that I actually put some stitches on those kits, because I didn't just get them to review them and not do anything with them, or I didn't purchase them to have them just remain as kits. I actually really do like them and would like to have them stitched. So I'm going to try to make a start with this one by the Magic Needle, Winter Cottage. It's from mybobbin.com. So I don't know. It would be nice to maybe move from Christmas into this wintry scene, but I do have a lot of plans for January, so that might not happen, but we'll see. And then, of course, the beautiful turquoise teacups. So I would like to stitch that and maybe hang it just over on this wall over here that's adjacent to the wall, the pictures you can see. And another Christmassy one that I would like to stitch is the DMC Gold Collection, A Kiss for Snowman. Reminds me of Charlotte, and I would just really like to have that stitched for her, maybe for next year. Well, hopefully finished for next year. But we'll see. It's small, but I think it's full coverage. Or maybe it's not. Anyway, we'll see. And then I have a beautiful kit from Isle Forest Embroidery for their hummingbirds. Oh, have you seen their latest birds, the cardinals? Stunning. It's part of this range of bird samplers that they're doing, but the cardinals are amazing for winter, Christmas time. So I would like to do this hummingbirds one. You see my lovely bags. You notice that as I'm kitting things up, they're not in pretty project bags. They're just in practical ones that are sitting awaiting. So I want to show you the threads for the Isle Forest kit just because they're so gorgeous. I know I've shown them before, but they really are beautiful. So those are all the kits that I would like. Oh no, there's maybe another kit. Let me check in the bag. Oh, there are two more kits and then a couple of other projects. So when hubby placed his order for my birthday present and Christmas present, which he was very good at, I added this in to the order, and it is a tiny Mill Hill ornament, a little love charmed ornament. So I've never stitched a Mill Hill, and I thought, why not give it a go? So it's got really pretty colours of the beads, if you can see them there, and threads. So that's in my plans. And then this is one of the mybobbin.com kits that I reviewed, and a number of you were interested in purchasing this, so maybe later on in the year I can let you know when I plan to start it, and if you would like to join me you could stitch along. So I'm not sure I want to attempt to pronounce it. Zigwigwi Delight, would that work? Zigwigwi Delight. It's a biscornu, and I thought it would be nice to do some small ornaments. And of course I have my more beading practice I could get in there, so I will learn to love it. That's all the kits. So then I have two smaller ones that I want to stitch. Everybody tells me, everybody that I have listened to who has stitched these, tells me that Lizzie Kate's strings are very quick stitches. Can't quite see that. This one is Buzzy String, sorry, which is the summer season one. That's Buzzy String, which I would like to stitch. And also Spring String, which is this one. Spring String. So I'm hoping that those are as quick as people claim them to be. And it would be nice to add those. I do have other string patterns and charts in my stash, so you know, eventually I'd like to have all of them, but for 2022 and with everything else that's in that pile, I thought that would be that I would just try and tackle two of them. You never know, might get to more. There are two other plans that I have in terms of cross stitch for 2022, and I don't have those yet, but they are definitely on my plans. The first is Glitter Village, and I think it's Country Cottage Needleworks or Little House Needleworks, forget which, but you will all, I'm sure, be familiar with it, and the details will be below. If I've mentioned anything here, I will put the details below. The full pattern set has been tricky to track down here in the UK, but I think I finally managed that, and they should be on their way to me now. So I'm looking forward to stitching Glitter Village. I believe that Fat Quarter Shop are going to do a stitch along of that at some point in 2022. So I will either try to start it with them or maybe even start ahead of them. Not that they haven't announced, Kimberly hasn't announced yet when she's going to start that, but we'll see. So hopefully that will also be part of my regular stitching next year. And then finally, my biggest and grandest start for 2022 should be A Saviour's Praise by Shakespeare Pedlar. And I can't show you that today because Santa is bringing it. So it is coming for Christmas, and I have gathered the threads, and some beautiful fabric is also on its way to me for that, courtesy of the 123 stitch gift card that I was so graciously given. So I will be making a start on that. I think that that chart is the biggest chart I will ever have stitched, if and when I ever get it done. It is a chart that I have seen and considered purchasing a number of times, and then I look at it a bit more and I think, no. And then every time that Laurie Holt shows it on one of her cross-stitch videos, I think, yeah, I am going to order it. I am. And the last time she showed it, I did. And hubby was graciously agreed that he would buy it for me for my Christmas present. So that's a lot of plans. Phew. 2022 is going to be a busy stitching year, if I have anything to do with it. I'm really looking forward to those plans, and I hope that you all have your plans too, and will have a great year. No doubt there will be things that distract me and sidetrack me from this list. I am not holding fast to this list. It is just a way of focusing on the things I would like to start, and we will see how it goes, and you will certainly hear about my progress through future videos. Of course, I have plans for quilting and for embroidery in 2022 as well, but those are much more modest plans, and I think I will share those on the next video rather than extending this one, because I think that you have persevered long enough today. And I thank you for bearing with me. I hope you've seen some things that you enjoy, and I hope that you will want to watch along next year as I stitch hopefully lots of those plans. I hope that the next few weeks for you all will be filled with joy and peace. I know it's going to be busy for many of you, but I hope that there will be peace and happiness in that. And I hope that you all have a great break if you're getting one from work, that you will have wonderful celebrations with families, and just enjoy this Christmas period. For us here, it's very important. It is a time of hope in the gift that God gave us when he sent his son to be a child here on earth, and to live and to grow and become the man and the savior that the world was waiting for. So for us here as a Christian family, that's very important for us to celebrate and to remember and to hold on to. We also embrace and enjoy the festivities and Santa Claus and all of that fun stuff too. So I hope that whatever way you celebrate, you will have a great time, that you will also find plenty of time for snatching some stitchy moments here and there with your feet up, and a Christmas festive snack and treat or two. And I hope that we will be back with you on, probably the week between Christmas and New Year. 2 weeks from today is Christmas Eve, and well, there's no way that's happening. So the week after that, I hope to be back. So it'll probably be 3 weeks until I see you again. So until then, my lovely Flosstube friends, please be blessed, stay well, and stitch happy. Merry Christmas.